The sound of my phone buzzing against the granite countertop barely registered, until I saw the image that followed. I was standing in the kitchen, halfway through my first sip of coffee. Bitter. Too strong. The kind that coats your tongue with metal and makes your stomach knot if you drink it too fast. I hadn't eaten. The house was quiet. Outside, the city groaned into motion, low traffic murmurs, the occasional honk from a delivery truck, steam hissing from an old radiator. It was supposed to be a normal morning. The message came from an unknown number. No words. Just an image. At first, I thought it was spam, one of those accidental forwards or a misfired meme. But I opened it anyway. Maybe I already knew. It was a photo. Dimly lit, grainy, but unmistakable. My wife, Lauren, stood in front of a large abstract canvas. She was laughing, chin tilted up, eyes bright. And the man beside her, Marco, I would later confirm, stood too close. His hand was on her hip. Her arm wrapped around his back like they belonged there, in that moment, among the easels and shadowy paint-splattered floors. There was no crowd. No audience. No art patron sipping wine in plastic cups. Just them. Alone. Like they'd paused in the middle of something private. Her blouse slightly rumpled. His shirt unbuttoned at the top. Their closeness didn't suggest flirtation. It suggested after. My grip on the coffee mug loosened, and it clinked too hard against the counter when I set it down. Some of the liquid sloshed out. I didn't bother to wipe it. I zoomed in on the image, hoping, maybe, that it wasn't her. That the light was playing tricks. But there was no mistake. The necklace she always wore, the scar near her collarbone, even the ring, our ring, still on her finger. I turned the phone face down on the counter. My chest didn't tighten. My hands didn't shake. Instead, I felt hollow. Like someone had carved out the center of me and left the edges standing. I stared at the refrigerator door for a long time. Our daughter's drawing from last week, two stick figures holding hands in front of a yellow sun, was pinned up with a red magnet. I remember when Lauren had praised it, said she'd never seen a more perfect sun. Now the colors looked childish. Naive. A version of our life drawn by someone who didn't yet know people could lie with their eyes wide open. I walked to the window. Down on the street, people moved with purpose, umbrellas half open, taxis darting across intersections, a man yelling at his dog. The world didn't stop. But inside, something shifted. I wasn't angry. Not yet. Anger requires clarity. And this moment still felt like a page half ripped from a story I hadn't finished reading. I picked the phone back up and stared at the message again. There was no text. No caption. Just the image. Who sent it? A stranger? A friend trying to protect me? Someone who thought I deserved to know? They were right. I locked the phone and tucked it into my pocket. Then I poured the rest of the coffee down the sink. I didn't say anything when Lauren came home that night. I didn't ask where she'd been. She offered a casual excuse, something about last-minute framing at the gallery, then kissed me on the cheek with the same lips I'd seen brushing against someone else. I let her talk. I smiled when appropriate. Because now, I wasn't trying to understand her anymore. I was preparing. I used to think love had a sound. For Lauren and me, it was the soft hum of a dishwasher at night after the kid went to bed. It was the clink of wine glasses on the fire escape in July, her feet in my lap as we listened to traffic 10 stories down. It was the scratching of pencils as our daughter, Ellie, doodled at the kitchen table while Lauren scrolled through gallery blogs and sent emails to curators I'd never heard of. We had a rhythm, our own texture, our own palette. Brooklyn was her idea. She fell for the charm of old brick and alleyway cafes, and I followed. I was working remote by then, handling corporate software accounts, so I let her lead the move. We got a second-floor walk-up near Fort Greene with too many cracks in the walls and a clawfoot tub that never drained quite right. But it had character. And it was close to the art. Lauren started attending more shows, openings, panel talks, underground exhibits tucked into basements of bars and converted warehouses. She came home glowing from these events, often gushing about this incredible piece or a brutal installation that made me feel everything and nothing all at once. It was exciting. At first. Then Marco came into the picture. He was a painter. Local. His work was messy, abstract, smattered with reds and deep earth tones that Lauren once described as feral. She admired him instantly. "He makes chaos look intentional," she said over dinner once, stirring her pasta without eating. When she was invited to his solo exhibit, I offered to come. She declined. "It's more of an industry thing," she said. "You wouldn't enjoy it. You always say those rooms feel pretentious." She wasn't wrong. But I didn't like being dismissed, either. I brushed it off. Let her go. That night she came back at 1:40 a.m. Her shoes were off when she entered, and she had the look of someone still glowing from proximity to brilliance. I asked how the show was. "Unreal," she said. "I wish I could paint feelings the way he does." That was when the colors started fading. The first real warning sign came a week later. She'd left her purse on the bed, half open. A receipt peeked out, from a restaurant in Williamsburg. 2 entrees. A bottle of wine. $148. I picked it up. Dated the same night as Marco's exhibit. I slid it back in, said nothing. After that, I started noticing the fragments. The texts she'd suddenly start deleting. The extra showers. The excuses for not joining us on weekend walks. "Too much work to finish," she'd say, closing the laptop as I passed behind her. One morning, I woke up early and saw her already dressed, applying lipstick in the hallway mirror. She jumped when I entered the kitchen. "You're up early," I said. "I've got an artist brunch," she said. "Marco's doing a private preview of a new series." I nodded. "Are you curating it?" She hesitated. "Just helping with promotion." Later that day, I Googled the gallery. On their team page, Lauren was listed as curatorial assistant. When I brought it up that evening, she played it off. "They just added my name for formality," she said. "I didn't even know." She laughed. I didn't. The next week, I checked our joint credit card activity. There were 3 charges from a boutique hotel in Dumbo. 1-night stays. Midweek. I took screenshots. Printed statements. Still, I said nothing. I wasn't ready to accuse. I was building a frame around the truth. One afternoon, Ellie came home from school with a finger painting, a mess of crimson, indigo, and black. "What is it?" I asked. She smiled. "It's Mommy." She said those are the colors Marco uses. I almost asked more. But I couldn't. Not yet. Instead, I confided in my brother Nate. We met at a diner in Manhattan, and over burnt coffee and dry eggs, I laid it out, just the facts. No tears. No drama. Nate listened carefully, then said, "So you're sure?" But not saying anything. "I want to be ready," I said. "If I confront her now, she'll spin it. I want facts, not feelings." He nodded. "Good. Build your case. Be smarter than the storm." That night, I set up a second iCloud account and synced it to Lauren's shared devices. Not to spy. To preserve. The images came slow at first. A photo of her inside Marco's studio, lit by golden light. Another of his hand resting on the small of her back during a gallery hang. A selfie she took in the mirror with his brush-stained shirt clearly visible behind her shoulder. I saved each one. Documented them. Dated and filed. I wasn't a man unraveling. I was a man mapping his exit. And with every new clue, I found myself breathing steadier, not because the pain was less, but because the truth finally had formed. The morning after I saved the last image, I made the first call. Cassandra Klein came highly recommended. A friend of my brother's, sharp, discreet, and unforgiving when the situation required it. Her office sat in a renovated brownstone in the West Village. Art on the walls, but no warmth in her tone. I told her everything. Laid it out like a blueprint. She didn't gasp. Didn't offer comfort. Just listened, pen tapping lightly against her legal pad. "You're not angry," she said finally. "That's good. Anger makes people sloppy." "I'm past that," I said. "Then we work in silence until you're ready to strike." We discussed strategy. What was legally usable? What to preserve? What not to touch? She advised I avoid confrontation, for now. The courts valued documentation, not drama. Cassandra walked me through custody rights, marital asset laws in New York, and the difference between suspicion and admissible evidence. She wanted dates, details, proof of misused finances, and evidence of neglect. Not for revenge, but for leverage. I left her office with a list. A plan. And a folder already labeled with my name. That night, I sat at the dining table while Lauren messaged someone across from me, her eyes never leaving her screen. I watched her type. Smirk. Delete. I didn't say a word. Instead, I opened my laptop and got to work. I started by creating a private archive. I backed up Lauren's shared photo libraries, cloud history, message previews. I bought a second external hard drive, copied every banking statement, credit card bill, PayPal transaction, Venmo line item. It was amazing how much betrayal left behind a paper trail. Hotel stays. Rideshare pickups outside Marco's loft. Uber Eats charges delivered not to our apartment, but to an address I'd never visited. I organized the files by category: financial, communication, visual, metadata. I started calling it the gallery, a private collection of her choices. Next, I installed 2 cameras in the apartment, one in the living room, one in the hallway. I told her I was worried about break-ins. She shrugged. She barely noticed me anymore. Which suited my plan just fine. I met with my brother Nate again 2 weeks later. We walked the East River Promenade with coffees in hand, the wind sharp, the conversation quieter than last time. "Anything changed?" he asked. "No. But that's good. Predictability gives me time." He nodded. "And Ellie?" "She's good. Still drawing. Still asking where mommy is on Tuesday nights." His jaw tightened, but he didn't speak. "I'm going to protect her," I said. "This isn't just about Lauren. This is about what kind of life Ellie's going to think is normal." Nate clapped a hand on my shoulder. "That's the right fight. Don't let it be about ego." I started seeing a therapist, too. Her name was Claire. 40-something, composed, quick-eyed. She didn't ask if I still loved Lauren. She asked if I still loved myself. I wasn't sure how to answer. So she started with structure. List 3 things you do daily that are for you, not work, not family. Just you. It was harder than I expected. Eventually, I added morning runs to the list. I'd wake at 6, lace up, and hit the pavement before the city got loud. Just movement. Breath. Direction. Claire helped me stay focused, not on revenge, but on rebuilding. She reminded me that grief comes in waves, but clarity comes in patterns. She told me to start keeping a journal, not for emotions, but for facts. Time stamps. Observations. A record of reality. When the ground shakes, she said, your notes will be what keeps you standing. The confrontation was coming. I could feel it. Lauren had started leaving more often, and staying out longer. She stopped explaining why. Once, I asked who she was meeting. She didn't even lie. Just said, you wouldn't understand. I smiled. Try me. She didn't. That night, I printed the preliminary parenting plan. Cassandra had helped me draft it. Primary physical custody to me. Alternating weekends and 1 midweek dinner for Lauren. Equal holidays. No overnight guests of a romantic nature during custody periods. Clear rules for communication and transition points. I paired it with a notarized summary of our shared assets and a revised property division based on financial misconduct. Cassandra advised I stay fair. Reasonable. But firm. You win by not looking like you're trying to win, she said. The next day, I met with Ellie's teacher. Just to keep communication open. I didn't want our problems to become Ellie's burden. She's been quiet lately, the teacher said. Still engaged, still smart, but softer. Like something's weighing on her. I nodded. We're working on giving her a more peaceful environment. A week before I was set to file, I received the final piece of confirmation I didn't know I needed. I opened Lauren's iPad to play music for Ellie during dinner. An airdrop notification popped up, someone trying to share a photo from Marco's iPhone. I clicked it before I could think better. It was a photo of Lauren. Naked. In a studio filled with canvases. The same one from that first grainy message. But this time, clearer. Proud. I saved it. Didn't flinch. That night, after Ellie was asleep, I opened my hard drive and added it to the gallery. Final piece. The frame was complete. I emailed Cassandra the full folder. She replied within 15 minutes. You're ready. Let's schedule service. I poured myself a glass of wine. Sat at the kitchen table beneath a light that buzzed softly above my head. The chair opposite me was empty. I didn't mind. In front of me was a small wedding photo, me and Lauren on a beach in Montauk, both sunburned and laughing. My favorite picture of us. I turned it face down. There was no room left for fantasy. Now, there was only truth. And a plan. The air in our apartment felt unusually still. It was a Saturday afternoon, and Lauren had just walked through the door after another studio brunch. She smelled like bergamot and turpentine, her new scent of choice since Marco became her muse. I was waiting for her at the kitchen table, a folder in front of me. The coffee machine hummed behind me. Our daughter was at my brother Nate's place, painting birdhouses with her cousins. I'd made sure she wouldn't be home. Lauren stopped short when she saw me sitting there. Her keys clinked into the bowl by the door. Her body stiffened just slightly. You're home early, she said. I didn't respond. I tapped the folder lightly. We need to talk. She sighed and dropped her bag onto the floor. Can it wait? I'm exhausted. No, I said evenly. It really can't. She walked over slowly, like approaching a suspicious object. When she sat down, I saw something flicker in her eyes, recognition, maybe. Or fear. I opened the folder and slid it toward her. Photos. Screenshots. A printed map with GPS pings. Financial records. The airdrop photo from Marco. She stared at the top image, her own face, blurred slightly, lips parted mid-laugh, Marco's arm around her waist. Her lips tightened. You've been spying on me. No, I said. I've been preparing for the moment when the truth stopped hiding. She flipped through the document slowly, then pushed the folder aside. So what now? You want to shame me? Drag me through court? I don't want to do anything, I said. But I will do what's necessary. I took out a second folder, thinner, cleaner. Inside was the proposed custody agreement and property division paperwork, notarized and ready. I laid it gently on the table. This is what's going to happen next, I said. You'll get a fair split of our assets. You'll have regular access to Ellie. No one is erasing you. But you don't get to pretend this didn't happen. She looked away, eyes glistening now. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I reached into my bag and pulled out a small framed photo, our wedding day in Montauk. I placed it between us. We were both laughing in the picture, sun in our eyes, hair wild from the ocean wind. You know, I said, this used to be the truest thing I had. Then I flipped it over, face down on the table. I don't need an apology, Lauren. I need closure. And peace. She ran a hand through her hair. Marco didn't mean to come between us. Marco didn't, I said quietly. You did. She nodded, just once. And if I fight this? You can. But it won't end well for you. We sat in silence for a moment. The building's radiator kicked in with a soft groan. Outside, I could hear someone walking a dog, the leash jingling like wind chimes. I'll sign, she said eventually. But not today. That's fine, I said, standing. The paperwork will be filed Monday either way. I picked up the folders and the photo, slipping them back into my bag. As I turned to leave the room, I paused. For what it's worth, I said, I hope you find whatever you were chasing in those canvases. I really do. She didn't reply. And I didn't need her to. The divorce was finalized 29 days later. Lauren didn't contest anything. She reviewed the agreement through her lawyer, requested a slight adjustment to her midweek visitation schedule with Ellie, and signed the paperwork. No screaming. No blame. Just a quiet end to a life she'd already stepped out of long ago. Cassandra called it one of the cleanest splits she'd seen for something so emotionally loaded. I called it survival. The court granted me primary custody of Ellie. Lauren had alternating weekends, Wednesdays after school, and designated holidays. Our financial division was fair on paper, but I kept the apartment and retained most of our long-term investments. She got her studio space and a clean line out. Neither of us looked at each other when the judge nodded and closed the file. Outside the courthouse, I called Nate. It's done, I said. You okay? I think so. You don't sound relieved. I'm not sure relief is the word. But it's quiet. Inside my head. That's something. He didn't press. He never did when it mattered. In the weeks that followed, the silence in the apartment took on new shape. At first, it felt hollow. Like something had been knocked loose. But gradually, the emptiness became space. Breathing room. Light. I rearranged the living room. Took down some of Lauren's framed gallery posters and let Ellie pick new ones, an illustrated world map, a framed painting of a lighthouse, a canvas she made herself, streaks of green and gold, bold and messy. I like this one, she said. It's a little wild. Yeah, I said, hanging it. That's what makes it strong. We started cooking together, breakfast for dinner on Tuesdays, pasta experiments on Sundays. She started laughing more. Drawing more. One day she looked up from her sketchbook and asked, "Are you happy again?" It caught me off guard. I didn't answer right away. I'm getting there, I finally said. One day at a time. At Claire's suggestion, I began writing again, not about Lauren, not directly, but about clarity, rebuilding, what it means to hold your own ground when someone else walks away. I called the blog Life After the Canvas. I didn't advertise it. Just posted twice a week. Short essays. Quiet thoughts. Practical things, how to talk to kids during a breakup, how to re-establish routines, how to stay human when you're tempted to become armor. People found it anyway. Some left comments. Others sent emails, short, raw, honest. One woman wrote, "I thought I was the only one who stayed calm. Thank you for making me feel less alone." That was enough. One afternoon, after dropping Ellie off at Lauren's place, I found myself walking along a familiar street in Williamsburg. The wind bit at my collar. The city moved around me in its usual chaotic rhythm, subway rumbles, food cart smoke, someone yelling into their phone. I passed the gallery. Marco's name was on the window in stylized lettering. A new exhibit. Surrender and Surface. Through the glass, I saw him, gesturing, confident, entertaining a pair of women in long coats. I didn't stop walking. I didn't feel rage. I didn't even feel curious. The chapter was over. The painting was finished. I had no interest in studying the brushstrokes. Back home, I took out the wedding photo from Montauk, still face down in the drawer. I considered flipping it over. But I didn't. Instead, I put it in a box, sealed the lid, and slid it onto the top shelf of my closet. Not erased. Just put away. Exactly where it belonged.